So hold up now, are you saying Starfield used to be a pure survival game with some crazy in-depth systems? You guys have got to see some amazing findings from the community, and will we ever see these gameplay systems return in Starfield? And it looks like it is actually happening. Starfield is slowly turning into No Man's Sky thanks to this amazing mod. There's something quite insane about this news, by the way, because this is truly only the beginning. Plus, stealth is actually fun and viable with these skills and abilities, so if you're wanting to start a stealth playthrough, you're gonna want to know this. And if these gameplay mechanics were in Skyrim and Fallout 4, why aren't they in Starfield, and will they ever make an appearance? And yes, you can take the entire city of New Atlantis with you in space. What in the world is going on here? Well, you have got to see this absolutely wild glitch that happened to one lucky or very unlucky player. You decide. But yeah, we're going to start out with this news right here. Check it out. It goes on to say this: slower than light, a new groundbreaking Starfield mod now allows you to fly between planets inside a star system with no load times. This was posted by Synth Potato, who actually reposted this from Starfield Wiki, and we have got to play the full video here, or not the full video, just bits and pieces of the video to really showcase what's going on here. But this is really cool because, yes, it shows how you can seamlessly now traverse from planet to planet and ultimately arrive at your destination without any type of loading screens. And yeah, this is a very impressive mod created by 105 Gun. I'm going to throw that link in the description below if you want to check it out. Now, they do warn this is a rough draft of this mod, but there's a really good point made that is pretty incredible to consider here. Now, this is only the beginning. D says this: the creation kit isn't even out. And Synth Potato replied saying, once that's out, we'll get some insane stuff. Overhauls to the procedural content will take no time at all as well. So yeah, this is just the beginning for the modding scene for Starfield. I am so hyped. But someone also brought up this point. Let me know if you agree with this one or not. It says this from who? It says, so are we pretending that we want to spend an entire minute looking at nothing while we slowly drift towards a planet? Is that what we've been gaslighted into thinking we want out of a game now? Sure, it's a bit more realistic, but it's 1 minute of boring. And Synth Potato replied saying, nothing wrong with having it as an option. I think cutting it down to 20 or so seconds with an in-lore hyperdrive would have been a great compromise. And again, I say that this is like only the beginning for this type of mod. I think they're going to have several options in the future for speeding up this type of travel. But I love the idea of making the game even more seamless, more organic as you travel, instead of having to wait through load screens and that sort of thing. I'm for this, so I really think that this is going to be fine-tuned in the next months and years as we get into the creation kit for sure. And it also begs the question, don't you guys want to see this one right here? Just wait until the first patch. Bethesda will do right by us. This one was posted by On the Red Team, and man, that would be so cool to see Fallout in Starfield. I'm just saying that would be very, very neat to see. All right, so got to talk about something that the community has been kind of investigating since Starfield's release, that it seems like Starfield was a very, very different game before it released, and it kind of evolved over time through its development process. So let's take a look at this post right here. This was posted by Flashy Background 820, who says Starfield was a very different game than what was released and changed fairly deep into the development process. It does warn that it is speculation, but let me tell you what, it's very good speculation. It says, I want to preface this post by saying I have no inside knowledge whatsoever and that this is speculation. I'm also not intending for this post to be a judgment on whether the changes were good or bad. I didn't know exactly where to start, but I think it needs to be with Helium-3. There was a very important change to fuel in Starfield that split the version of the game that released from the alternate universe Starfield started as. Todd Howard has stated that in earlier iterations of the game, fuel was consumed when you jumped to a system. This was changed, and we no longer spend fuel, but fuel still exists in the game as a vestigial system. Technically, your overall fuel capacity determines how far you can jump from your current system, but because you don't spend fuel, one jump can just be two if needed, rendering it pointless. They may as well not have fuel in the game at all, but it used to matter And even though it doesn't now, it's still in the game. Remember the vestigial aspect of this because this will be important. Furthermore, it says this, so let's envision how the game would have played if we consume fuel with jumps. The cities and vendors all exist relatively clumped together on the left side of the star map. Jumping around these systems would be relatively easy as the player could simply purchase more helium-3 from a vendor. However, things changed completely as we look to the expanse to our right on the star map. A player would be able to jump maybe a few times to the right before needing to refuel, and there are no civilizations past Neon, so how else can we get helium-3 aside from vendors? Outposts. This is an excellent read here. It says outposts in Starfield have been described as pointless, but they're not pointless. They are vestigial. In the original Starfield, players would have had to create an outpost in order to venture further into the star map because they would need to mine helium. This means that players would also need resources to build these outposts, which would mean spending a lot of time on one planet, killing animals for resources, looting structures, point of interest, mining, and praising the God Emperor when they came across a proc-gen settler vendor. In this version of Starfield, these point of interest become much more important and players become much more attached to specific planets as they slowly push further to more distant systems, building their outposts along the way. Now we can just fly all around picking and choosing planets and coming and going as we please, so none of them really matter, but they used to. So I got a question. Which version of Starfield would you have preferred? The version that we got, where it's a little bit more, I wouldn't say arcadey, but more forgiving in terms of survival mechanics for sure? Or would you like it to be more realistic, where you do need fuel, where you are reliant on that sort of stuff? And we are going to get into more of the survival aspects because there are some really cool mechanics in the game currently that are very underwhelming in terms of how they are utilized in the game, which actually might be attractive to most of the Starfield audience anyway. But it's interesting because it seems like there might be a potential to have some sort of hardcore mode, survival mode in Starfield if Bethesda really wanted to implement something like that in the future officially for the overall game, which I think would be a really cool free update to the game. I'm just saying. Now, we have this right here. It says, what is another system that could be described as pointless? You probably would disagree if I said environmental hazards. Nobody understands them and they don't do much of anything. I would say based on the previous vestigial systems that still exist in the game, these are also vestigial elements of a game that significantly shifted at some point in development. In this previous version of the game, where we were forced down to planets to build outposts for fuel, I believe hazards played a larger role in making Starfield the survival game I believed it originally was. We can only speculate on what this looked like, but it's not hard to imagine a Starfield in which players who walk out onto a planet that is 500 degrees Celsius without sufficient heat protection would simply die. Getting an infection may have been a matter of life and death. Players would struggle against the wildlife, pirates, bounty hunters, and the environment itself. Having different suits and protections would be important and potentially would have been roadblocks for players to solve to be able to continue their journey forward. Again, some people might really enjoy this, and some people might find it to be an absolute hassle. I'm so curious to see what side of the fence you all are on. This is more sounding like a true survival game, of course, where you traverse the universe. Now we have this. This Starfield would have been slow. Traveling to the furthest reaches of the known systems would have been a challenge. This game was much more survival oriented, maybe a slog at times. Planets, point of interest, and outposts would have mattered a lot, and reaching new systems would have given a feeling of accomplishment because of the challenges you overcame to get there. It also could have been tedious, boring, or frustrating. I have no idea. But I do think Starfield was a very different game, and when these changes were made, it significantly altered the overall experience, and that they were deep enough into development when it happened that they were unable to fully adapt the game to its new form. The half-baked systems had a purpose. Planets feel repetitive and pointless because we're playing in a way that wasn't originally intended. It's like we're all playing on creative mode. What do you think? Any other vestigial systems that I didn't catch here. So yeah, what do you guys think? This is an excellent discussion for sure. We've seen this happen with games before where you have these systems in place and then through the development process, they're like, oh man, we bit off more than we can chew essentially, and we have to adapt and adjust. That this might actually not be fun for players. We have to really cater to our current audience and then also newcomers as well. So there's that dynamic at play here. Now, I have seen where it goes completely wrong, where they absolutely butcher and essentially slaughter what the game once was. There is an interesting discussion about what Anthem, you guys remember Anthem, don't you? With the jetpacks and the Iron Man type experience. Well, that game used to be completely different as well. And that's such a fascinating story. But we're talking about Starfield right now. But yeah, someone also pointed this out as well. It says there is even a loading screen hint about building Helium-3 outposts so you can refuel at them. I saw it and I thought, cool. No, wait, I don't even ever need to refuel. What the heck is this about? Under your theory, that hint starts to make a lot more sense. Someone did point out, though, that you can refuel them. If you have an outpost with Helium-3, you can jump farther as if you have refueled mid-journey, and if the path includes the system with the outpost. I don't have enough outposts to verify this, but I'm pretty sure the help text for the outpost says this too. So yeah, it just seems like, again, they tried to simplify the original systems to cater towards a wider, broader audience and to focus up on perhaps the RPG mechanics, the shipbuilding, and the gameplay, the moment-to-moment gameplay to make it more action-oriented, I suppose you would say, as you can see right here. Now, let's talk about stealth. This is something that we haven't talked about enough, I don't think. And a lot of people are like, stealth is just so underwhelming in this game. How can I make it fun? So yes, it seems like we have perhaps an answer for you today. So check it out. It says, stealth is actually viable and fun with the right skills and abilities. This was posted by Charles Darwin, OF, who says this right here. I used to have the same opinion as you all with stealth being crap in this game and how the whole system is pointless. But here's how I have made it viable. It took me longer since I had invested in other skills and spending the perk points by mistake. Stealth rank 4, concealment rank 4, isolation rank 2 through 4, dueling rank 4, and manipulation rank 2 through 4, and the Rajan operator skill suit with the 25% sneak bonus. Not to mention the sneak bonus magazines and the chems that reduce noise. I know the whole post is not that specific, but I'm typing this without my Xbox on hand. Thoughts? Yeah, sounds like that is an excellent way to go. And we have this reply here. I generally prefer stealth be hard to utilize rather than easy. Skyrim got so silly at times. And it says my Oblivion character running around with 100% chameleon. Yeah, so what you can do here also with Starfield is there's a really cool mod which apparently makes stealth so much better. I'm going to try to remember to throw that down in the description below. But do you guys think there needs to be fine-tuning with the stealth mechanics officially, like an official stealth update from Bethesda? Sound off if you think that needs to be done and reworked in any way, shape, or form. I'm kind of curious your take on this, but I'm like more of a guns a-blazing type player, just to be honest with you. I do like stealthing sometimes, especially when it comes to games like Thief. Man, Thief Deadly Shadows is still one of my all-time favorite stealth video games ever. All right, so we got to talk about this one as well. It says, a simple list of mechanics that aren't in this game that were in previous games. Will add, remove as I find them. I love this game. This one comes from Monster Mouth. It says, underwater swimming. Yeah, it would be cool if you can take your ship underwater. I'm just saying, just imagine like seamlessly going underwater with your ship from like space into orbit and then down into the atmosphere and then finally into the water. I just think that would be badass. But also, we have removable, reattachable weapon mods. That's a big one. I've seen that requested many times. Companion commands. We haven't talked about that. Being able to command your companions around to attack or hold position or what have you. That would be cool. Truly looting enemies, seeing an enemy's outfit, wanting it, killing them and being able to take it. NPC schedules, shops are always open. People never go to bed, etc. Modified melee weapons, two-handed melee weapons, craftable weapons and armor, dismantling weapons and armor, and then craftable ammo. But I wanted to back up here and talk about NPC scheduling. this is something that I do want to see, although it is kind of a pain in the butt when a shop is not open at midnight. For me, there's something about it where it's like, oh, it just feels lived in and realistic. I personally love that, and I find it so strange when a shop is like open dead of night. I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I would love them to update NPC scheduling for sure. Now, next up, we have all companions having relationship dialogues regardless of romance ability. In-depth companions from all different factions, way fewer modification options, a way less in-depth outpost system, can't truly build a home, unlimited storage space at outposts, recruitable doctors, chefs, barbers, face changers, salespeople, so on. There's a recruitable doctor who people wanted to heal them, but they don't do this. No separation of food and aid items. Yeah, I will say that is kind of a pain. It would be cool to also invest in shops and real estate. One of my favorite games that did this was Fable 2. I was just absolutely addicted to Fable 2. I don't know if you guys are the same way. Can't wait for the next Fable. I'm just going to say that as a disclaimer right now. Yeah, that's been on my mind a lot lately. But yeah, I would love for them to have real estate where you can like earn passive income from that throughout your journey. That'd be really cool. Then we have modifiable clothing, deconstructing misc items into resources, dismembering, crippling limbs on enemies. We're starting to get into more Fallout territory here. So I think the reason why they don't have that in this game is to, for some reason, separate the Fallout franchise from Starfield. I think that's kind of the intent here. Also, yes, power armor styled suit. Once again, you're leaning into Fallout. And I think Bethesda's like, nope, we got to keep our identity between the franchises, which I think can be detrimental thinking to gameplay systems. Survival mode, yes. Underwater combat adoption. Then we have the one only half counts because it's another kind of Fallout specific thing. No radio. No way to listen to music at all. Yeah, we need that. Local map. Yes, that's coming, it seems. Have to pick up food before eating it. Recording faction ranks. Craftable doors. Loot all. Like looting a bunch of bodies all at once. Yes, it makes it so much simpler. Horse mounts or ground vehicles of any kind. Dual wielding. Tagging specific resources. Crafting poison in general. Kill cams, finishers. Oh man, that would actually be cool. Kill cams, finishers. I actually like that. They should pull that from Fallout. Moving during dialogue, food, water, defense, happiness for outpost. Oh, dude, yeah, like a morale system. Livestock, robot, gore, dismemberment, NBC. It goes on and on. Holy crap, it goes on and on. Multiplayer was also in there. I've heard a lot of you guys mention multiplayer, which kind of surprises me considering the controversy that was Fallout 76, although I enjoy Fallout 76 myself. And they've done a great job reworking the systems in that game. But yeah, multiplayer co-op would actually be a very cool addition, I think, to this game. But yeah, let's talk about this one. I should be allowed to have illegal items on me as a free star ranger in free star space. This would make total sense here. This one comes from Tracif, who says, I'm literally the highest ranking law enforcement officer of the Free Star Collective. I supposedly have more authority than local security. If I hunt a Crimson Fleet ship and confiscate their illegal goods, I should be allowed to return with the contraband and not be questioned. And if I'm caught with it, the local authorities themselves confiscate it and are now in possession of the same contraband that I, an outranking law enforcement officer, just had. So clearly law enforcement is allowed to be in possession of it. At least give me a dialogue option to say, hold up now, Free Star Ranger business, stand down, or something to local security. So what if I'm just going to sell it off to the trade authority? Yeah, there needs to be a system in place to handle contraband when you are like an authoritative figure officially, in that region. I think it just makes sense, and it would offer up another gameplay loop to consider, a reason to be lawful good or what have you. I think they need to tap into this with a free update for sure. But yeah, we also need to talk about how it's actually refreshing to play an open world RPG that doesn't present you with an existential threat from the get-go. This one comes from Orlandon, and it says, I'm a serial procrastinator in open world games. I tend to put off the main quest as long as I can and just soak up the lore and flesh out the world universe. It's sometimes been a little immersion breaking to me when the opening scene in an RPG spells out some nefarious and impending doom befalling the land at this very moment, or some task of great personal importance to your character, but then presents me with all the side quests and activities enabling me to somewhat guiltily ignore said predicament for months of equivalent in-game time. Dragons invading Skyrim? I'm gonna get myself involved with this civil war for a while instead. Yeah, he's playing exactly how I usually play open world games. Is I have a tendency to accidentally completely forget about whatever main mission path I am on. I'm like, oh, oops. And I'm kind of reminded to get back into it. But to me, if a game is doing that to you by accident, organically, it is a really good game. And I personally think Starfield really nailed it in that way, where you can get distracted by every little thing, and it's actually interesting, at least in my personal opinion. Now, exploration is a different story when you're actually exploring some of these redundant. In my opinion, some of the 1,000 planets are redundant in this game, but the faction quest lines are, in my opinion, really, really fascinating. All right, so it says this: I should be looking for my kid in Fallout 4 Wasteland, but instead I'm obsessing over outpost construction. Why look for my long-lost adopted daughter who's in mortal peril at this very moment when there's Gwent cards to collect? It's refreshing that I've been given free reign of this game after little more prompting than these artifacts are kind of cool. We should probably find more of them. Admittedly, I've only done a few main quests, so I'm sure the fate of the galaxy is eventually at stake, but it doesn't put much pressure on you at the onset, and I'm here for it. Same, felt like the main mission path did end up getting very fascinating, but it was more like a loose storyline, if I could word it that way. I never felt like, oh my god, I have to do the main mission path to really enjoy this game. There are so many good distractions, it's crazy. Now, you guys have got to check this out right here. It says, you all got asteroid buddies following you around. Well, I got an entire forest. And this was posted by Royal Schedule 4209. Holy crap. He took the entire forest with him. But wait a second. Let's take it a step further, because check this out right here. It says, I heard some of you have rocks following their ship. Well, I have the whole new Atlantis, which for some reason has taken off with him. It reminds me of one of the scenes from Borderlands where the entire city takes off. So yeah, it seems like, that's actually possible here. This was posted by Honeydew, and yeah, that is freaking hilarious. I actually wish that would happen to me so I could see what it actually looks like in motion on my screen here. But yeah, now it's time to get into your top comments from my most recent video, which was this one right here, a very strange new update. They just said, what? Plus, signs of DLC and future plans. Let's take a look and see what you guys had to say about this one. Remember to post your comments. I love reading all of them, but let's start out with this one right here. From Cobalt 100s, who says, Tamriel should be a planet you can land on and explore. Depending on where you land, you could see the different areas of the Elder Scrolls, including seeing primitive fantasy-level people who have never seen a spaceship or any of our technology. We could fight dragons and mud crabs and see places like Cyrodiil or Whiterun. Yeah, that would be so cool. I think it's going to happen with modding. That's what I think they're going to do. I have no doubt. Officially, don't hold your breath. Again, I think Bethesda's all about creating unique IPs and experiences, and they're not going to be sharing gameplay mechanics, certain gameplay mechanics, between their franchises and, of course, certain environments. They want it to be like, oh, that's Skyrim, that's Fallout, that's Starfield. And next up, we have Chris, who says, I've got a 170 hours in the game. On my first playthrough, all side missions I could find, 6 big bases, a UC TARDIS ship, and a USC Enterprise D ship. All faction quests are done. Collecting the stuff from the special temple, spoilers, then a companion's unique quest, then entering spoiler in the final mission. I have to say, fantastic game. Yeah, how many of you have actually finished the main story, by the way? Let me know. I'm kind of curious. And then we have Leo, who says, about attention to details. When doing the early story creep mission, when you go down a hallway, you hear a recording talking about the Terramorph that has escaped. And there is further mention of that on a computer. Now, when I got done with the quest there, I decided to do some exploring and scanning around there. After running around for a while, out of nowhere, a level 10 Terramorph attacked me, showing there really was an escaped Terramorph. This is part of the story where most people will be level 2, so I can hear the devs chuckling. Yeah, I think I was on that exact part, but I didn't explore enough like you. And it's interesting, your experience was completely different than mine. I never had the Terramorph come out and attack me. Now, I did run into a Terramorph down the road on a different mission. And I'm not going to spoil that mission. I'm pretty sure most of you have done it. But that was so badass. Let me tell you what. It actually gave me goosebumps for how that mission was done. It was like a callback to one of my favorite movie franchises. And I'll leave it at that. But yeah, excellent job there. Now, also we have this one right here from Ryan Tech, who says, being able to highlight the whole ship and paint it entirely is pretty convenient. For me personally, I still find myself going piece by piece and choosing my color combinations. Even if I'm using the same 3 colors across all ship parts, the way it translates across the various layers could drastically change the look of the ship. So you like to get like more detailed with your ship design. Yeah, that's how I am, you know. Or if I want it to be like more of a sleek look, then I would overall paint the entire thing one like matte finish type color painting, of course. But yeah, there it is. The latest happenings around Starfield. Stay tuned for more updates. I have you guys covered. I have been covering also, again, a little bit of Cyberpunk 2077, the Phantom Liberty, and yeah, update 2.0. If you guys have not hopped into Cyberpunk as well, man, it's great to bounce back and forth between now, which is 2 of my favorite games, Starfield and Cyberpunk. Yeah, gamers are eating good right now for sure. But thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.